Greetings, everyone. Richard Fulmer here, and welcome to another Richard's Rock Rambles. So today we're going to have a look at an English band by the name of Strawbs, or the Strawbs, if you like. In fact, when they first started, they were called the Strawberry Hills Boys. Quite a different name. And they started out in 1964, and when they first started out, they were a bluegrass group, so they changed quite a bit over their career. And they're one of the bands that for me has a particular Englishness about them, if that makes any sense at all. Other bands that I would put in that category would be bands like Genesis, Gentle Giant, and Jethro Tull, especially Jethro Tull. I think Jethro Tull and Strawbs are probably the two closest to have that sort of English feel about them. You know, when you hear it, you can hear this is not an American or an Australian band. These guys have got a particular pastoral feel to them, country feel, if you like, country rock. Maybe that's not the right term, but it's just a particular feel you get with these bands. A great band, Strawbs, still going today. They've actually recently released a new album, and the early lineup included none other than Rick Wakeman. So he was with them for about 2 albums, I think. And Sandy Denny, she also appeared on one of their albums. Of course, she went on to Fairport Convention, and she also sang on one of the Led Zeppelin albums, Led Zeppelin 3. There's also a side project called Acoustic Strawbs, where they switch off the amps and they take out the acoustic guitars and the banjos and what have you. And I think it's just 3 members that do that. And in fact, they came here to South Africa and they did an acoustic tour, a very low-key tour. I wasn't even aware of it until after they'd left, so missed out on that. And so they came over here and did an acoustic tour. So the current lineup is Dave Cousins on guitar, banjo, and vocals. He's been there right from the beginning. Unique voice. Sometimes when he sings, he reminds me a bit of Cat Stevens. He's got that kind of sound to his voice. Dave Lambert on acoustic guitar, electric guitar, and vocals. He's also been with the band for quite some time. Chaz Cronk, bass, acoustic guitar, and vocals. Likewise, also been with the band for a long time. Tony Fernandez on drums, and Dave Bainbridge on keyboards. So that's the current lineup. They've had a few lineup changes over the years, which I'll get to when I get to my albums. As it stands, they've done 25 studio albums, so that's quite a large discography. They've got about 4 live albums. There are some DVDs worth checking out. There's a complete Strawbs from Chiswick House concert in 2002. If you can get hold of that. I haven't been able to get any of their DVDs, but I'm sure they should still be available. Then there was one released in 2003, Live in Tokyo 75, which should be quite cool. You know, these bands, these classic era bands, I think the mid-70s to mid to late 70s, that's usually their glory period. And then there's one called Acoustic Strawbs, Live in Toronto 2004, Live in Gettysburg, Rites of Spring, and that's Acoustic Strawbs, Live in Toronto 2004. Then there's one called Live in Gettysburg, the Rites of Spring Festival in 2016. So that's the most recent DVD release you can get from these guys. Well worth checking out. As I say, they don't stick to one genre. They've done prog, they've done sort of pastoral thing, pop sensibilities definitely in some of their albums. They're not a very heavy band, but they can rock out when they want to. Other notable albums, Dragonfly from 1970, which was their second album, I think. Burning for You from 77, that one with the candles, with the eye in the candle, classic cover. And The Ferryman's Curse from 2017, which is not their most recent, but it's their second to last, which is a really good album. I was quite surprised with that came out and how powerful it still sounded. And the most recent being Settlement earlier this year, has its moments. There's a couple of instrumental tracks, but Dave Cousins, I think the voice is starting to take a bit of strain. You know, he's also in his mid-70s probably. But just great that they're still going and they're still creating new music. You know, they're not just relying on the old hits, they are still creating and being creative. That's what I wanted to say. So let's go through the ones that I have quickly and I can just chat a bit about them. First one I have is called From the Witchwood. I think there are 2 different covers to this. This is a vinyl that I picked up. A lot of mine are vinyl that I got secondhand. Let's just see who's on here. So on here is Dave Cousins, Tony Hooper, Rick Wakeman, Richard Hudson, and John Ford. Dave Cousins on vocals and guitar, Tony Hooper on vocals and guitar, Rick Wakeman on organ, and John Ford on bass, and Richard Hudson on snare drum, it says. I'm sure he must have played other drums besides snare. But what I love about this vinyl especially are the covers inside. Some of the covers are stunning. I don't know if you can see that very well. I just love that picture. And that apparently is the Vision of Saint Jerome, a tapestry from the Spanish Royal Collection. Really cool. You know, that's what I miss with... When CDs came around, you couldn't get this. That's why I have this love of vinyl, which I think I may have mentioned before. So the standout tracks on here, A Glimpse of Heaven, written by Dave Cousins. Beautiful track with some great vocals from Dave Cousins. And on that track, you can hear what I'm saying, the Englishness to their sound. Some great acoustic work. There's even an auto harp on there. Something called the Celeste that Rick Wakeman plays. Banjo. Witchwood, 30 Days, The Hangman and the Papist. That was a big hit off this album. Very cool song, sort of goes back to medieval times almost. Cannondale's a good song, The Shepherd Song. I really like this album, From the Witchwood. And this is from 1971, so this was early on in the career. And yeah, standout, I think. In their discography, I think it's one of the better ones. So there we go, that was From the Witchwood. Then we move on to another cool album with an amazing cover. Strawbs' Crave New World. And Benedictus is a great track on here. Hey Little Man, Queen of Dreams. What I like about this band as well is the sense of melody, and just the song structures, and the lyric writing is amazing. Mainly done by Dave Cousins. The Flower and the Young Man, Tomorrow, On Growing Older. Very similar to From the Witchwood in the themes and the style of music. And how's this for an inside cover? If you can see that. And when I saw this, I was kind of wondering, did Led Zeppelin steal this for Led Zeppelin 4? Very similar. Guy holding a staff, looking down on, and if you remember Led Zeppelin 4, there was a similar inside cover to this. And so let's just see if there's anything on the inside I can tell you about. Dave Cousins, Tony Hooper, John Ford, Richard Hudson. So this didn't feature Rick Wakeman, I don't think. No. But also a brilliant album, some great songs, and one of my favorites of theirs, Crave New World. Love that cover. Then we move on to one called Strawbs Bursting at the Seams, which was quite a big hit album for them, I think, back in the day, and this would have been 1973. The biggest hit to come off here, well, there were a few. Stormy Down, Lady Fuchsia, another Englishness kind of a track. Beautiful acoustic work on that track. And the biggest hit came, and it was called Part of the Union, which was a kind of a sing-along track, which was a fan favorite when they were live. And a very different track to the rest of the album, I think. Tears and Pavan is another beautiful track on here. There's a two-part, Tears and then Pavan, that's 6 minutes long. Some of their tracks were quite long, in the 70s especially. The Winter and the Summer, Lay Down, that was a big hit as well. That was quite a big hit on the radio back in the day. So let's see if there's anything I can show you in the inside. Nope, this is a very basic CD release. So that was Bursting at the Seams. Then we get to possibly their biggest selling album that most people, even with a, sort of an acquaintance with Strawbs will know about, and that's Hero and Heroine. Every track on here is really good. Autumn, Sad Young Man, Just Love, Shine on Silver Sun, that's a beautiful track. Hero and Heroine, the title track, which is great. It's a very prog type track. There's a lot of prog music in their stuff as well. And it has about 3 different parts to it. Really cool. Midnight Sun, Out in the Cold, Round and Round, that was also a hit. And Hero's Theme, the ending. So it's got a sort of a book ended to Hero and Heroine halfway through, and then Hero's Theme at the end. So all sorts of ties in. I don't know if you can see this photograph. There they are with some slightly dodgy hairdos, but hey, it was the 70s, so we'll forgive them for that. Not much in the middle, just the song titles. So that was Hero and Heroine. Great album. One worth checking out. Then we move on to the next album called Ghosts. Oh, that old Victorian photograph there. Ghosts, the title track is really cool. Lemon Pie, that was a big hit. Another acoustic track. A lot of acoustic work in their music. Starshine, Angel Wine. Remembering, Changes Arrange Us. Also a really cool album. I think this is a remastered CD. So here you had Dave Cousins, Dave Lambert, John Hawken, Chaz Cronk and Rod Coombs on drums. Produced by Tom Allom, who was actually a big producer for Judas Priest. He produced quite a few of their albums, so these actually get around in there. And it just tells you all about the album inside. There's not really many photographs. No. So that was Ghosts. Then we move on to No Madness. There we go. Not quite sure what's happening there. And this came out in 75. Not a bad album. The Golden Salamander. Quite a few prog numbers on here as well. Tokyo Rosie, Hanging in the Gallery, The Promised Land. Takes a few listens to get used to this one, but it's still good. I mean, all the musicianship right throughout their career, whether it be in the prog vein or in the sort of acoustic stuff, it's always been top notch. So that was No Madness. And then we get Deep Cuts, which isn't one I reach for that often. It's a bit sort of iffy. Chaz Cronk, Dave Lambert, Dave Cousins and Rod Coombs, same lineup as that one. There are a few guests on here: Robert Kirby, Mellotron strings, John Mealing, organ, piano, Rupert Holmes, piano, harpsichord, clavinet. Rupert Holmes, why does that name ring a bell? Anyway. So this was released in early summer of 76 and produced by Rupert Holmes. And not much I can show you on the inside. No, it's just the lyrics. So that was Deep Cuts. There's some fairly good tracks on here. I Only Want My Love to Grow in You. That was the big hit off here. Very radio friendly, quite a commercial track. And apart from that, not really much. Beside the Rio Grande, maybe. Not bad. Not bad. Deep Cuts. And the last one I have to show, or besides the best of that I'll show you quickly, is one called Deadlines. Probably my least favorite of the ones that I have. Not a very strong album. In fact, I can't think of anything here that stands out. No Return, maybe. Words of Wisdom. This is from 1978. Don't have any photographs, anything to show you. Yeah, but if you're looking for Strawbs as a starting point, I would go with the early 70s ones from the Witchwood, Crave New World, Hero and Heroine. Those are the ones I would go for. And if you were a completist like myself, come to this later on. Excuse me. And then we get to, there have been numerous collections over the years for Strawbs. But this is quite a cool one, called A Choice Selection of Strawbs. And I think this came out in the 90s, 1992. Lay Down, Lemon Pie, Lady Fuchsia, Autumn, Heroine's Theme, Deep Summer Sleep, A Glimpse of Heaven, The Hangman and the Papist, New World, Round and Round, Part of the Union, Down by the Sea. So all the big hits are on here. And let's see if there's anything that says inside. There's a couple of photographs of the guys back in the day. Looking very different these days, obviously, all in the mid to late 70s, as I said. There's another photograph. That's the one from Hero and Heroine. So yeah, that's quite a cool collection to get. A choice selection of Strawbs. So there we go, short and sweet. Quick look at Strawbs. Great band. Worthwhile checking out if you want to look at one of the great English bands from the 70s. As I say, still going today. And kudos for them for keeping it up. The next video, and the next couple of videos, what I want to do is go back to notable debut albums and have a bit more of an in-depth look at them. I may have mentioned them previously in episodes, but what I want to do is take each debut album. Some might be prominent debut albums, some might only be special to me, myself. Dive into them, who was in the band, etc., etc. And we'll take a look at that. And probably the first one I'm going to go look at is Led Zeppelin's debut album. Please guys, take it easy out there. COVID stuff is still going crazy here. I had my second jab the other day, so bring it on, COVID. Stay safe and have a good one.